Good evening. I'm Kerry Timchuk, and it's my privilege to serve as Executive Director of the Oregon Historical Society and to welcome you for our 12th annual and first virtual History Makers celebration. We began this celebration in 2009 to recognize remarkable individuals and organizations that make Oregon, Oregon. Individuals and organizations who, through their unique contributions to science, the arts, the economy, or service to their community, make our state a better place. In a little over a decade, the History Makers Award has come to be regarded as one of the highest honors an Oregonian can receive. Past recipients include the one and only One Tough Mother, Gert Boyle, the most recognizable voice in Oregon, Mr. Rip City himself, Bill Schonely, best-selling Clan of the Cave Bear author, Gene Owl, publishers of the Scanner newspaper, Bernie and Bobby Foster, the only person ever officially named as Oregon's first citizen, Jerry Frank, Oregon's first woman governor, Barbara Roberts, the venue that has made Oregon a must-visit for golfers worldwide, Bandon Dunes, and the companies responsible for products that can be found in every Oregonian's closet or kitchen pantry, Pendleton Woolen Mills and Reese's Fine Foods. And tonight, we are proud to honor 4 more amazing and patient recipients with the title of Oregon History Maker. I say patient because it was way back, February 14th, 2020, a year and a half ago, on Oregon Statehood Day, when we first announced tonight's honorees, with the plan of marking their achievements at our annual celebration, the fall of 2020. That plan, like so many others last year and this, had to be put aside. We had hoped to gather in person this evening, but safety dictates that we meet in living rooms across Oregon. I'm here in the Oregon Historical Society Pavilion. So settle in, enjoy your favorite dinner and beverage, and be ready for an inspiring and very fast-moving evening. Also, I hope you might be ready to join tonight's sponsors in supporting the important mission and work of the Oregon Historical Society. If you are watching at ohs.2021.ggo.bid, you can click on the Get Started button to register your credit card in advance and receive a personal bidding link to your phone and email so you can raise your paddle when the time comes. And speaking of sponsors, I want to give a very special thanks to this evening's presenting sponsors, Jordan Schnitzer and the Harold and Arlene Care Foundation and the University of Oregon. Thanks as well to our benefactor sponsors, Deloitte, the Greenbrier Companies, and the Oregon State University Foundation. We are delighted that presenting sponsor Jordan Schnitzer agreed to extend a special welcome to all of you this evening. Let's hear now from Jordan.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2021 Oregon History Makers Virtual Gala. I'm Jordan Schnitzer, and I'm honored again on behalf of our company and our family foundations to be the presenting sponsor of this amazing Northwest regional event. The Oregon History Makers Awards brings attention to those who have spent their careers building companies, creating art, leaders in science and industry, authors, and I know how much I've enjoyed hearing the personal history and watching the videos of amazing people that are doing so much for so many. So join with me tonight, first in recognizing Kerry Timchuk and the amazing staff of the Oregon History Center, the committee, judges that find and sift through so many worthy candidates for the honorees, and especially a tip of the hat and a personal thanks to all of you who are winning tonight who have done so much. You join the esteemed list of leaders in our state and the Northwest that have done so much. So congratulations, and let's get on with the virtual show.
Thank you, Jordan. And now let's get down to the business of honoring 4 new Oregon history makers. Science and new discoveries have long played an integral role in the history of our state. It was, after all, science and discovery that brought Lewis and Clark across the continent. It was science and discovery that led botanist David Douglas to explore the Pacific Northwest. It was the pursuit of medical science and kicking cancer in the you-know-where that guided the careers of three of our former Oregon history makers, Dr. Brian Drucker, Dr. Walter Erba, and Dr. Nathalie Johnson. And it was science that brought Dr. Geraldine Richmond to the campus and laboratories of the University of Oregon in Eugene. Michael Schill, president of the University of Oregon and one of our presenting sponsors, will share some insights on Dr. Richmond, and then we'll pass the baton to KGW's Laurel Porter.
Thank you, Carrie. I am delighted to be part of celebrating UO Presidential Chair in Science and Professor of Chemistry, Jerry Richmond. During Jerry's tenure at the University of Oregon, she has received numerous accolades and honors for her research and for her contributions to the field of science. She is a passionate advocate for women in the sciences and has shown incredible dedication to our students and their success. In addition to being a great teacher and scholar, and someone who is active in the public sphere, Jerry is an institutional force. On more than one occasion, when I had a thorny administrative issue, I called on Jerry to help me resolve it. Jerry is, simply put, the gold standard of academics. On behalf of the University of Oregon, I would like to congratulate Professor Richmond on this great honor and thank the Oregon Historical Society for recognizing her historic achievements and the important role that science plays in the state of Oregon. Now let's learn a little more about our esteemed professor and history maker.
Dr. Geraldine Richmond has been honored by U.S. presidents. She's traveled the world advancing the careers of women in science in developing countries and is now being considered by the U.S. Senate.
I am so honored to discuss my nomination to serve as Undersecretary for Science and Energy at the Department of Energy.
As President Biden's nominee for Undersecretary for Science at the Department of Energy.
Science is a human endeavor.
And at the center of it all,
science for me has been a vehicle for doing so many things. And I love the research and I love the curiosity, but if it didn't have the educational component or the students involved, it wouldn't be enough.
For 35 years, her home base has always been Oregon.
Oh, yeah.
She's the presidential chair in science and professor of chemistry at the University of Oregon in Eugene.
We're now in the physics building.
And you might say, when this award-winning chemist is in her lab doing research with her students,
to the wet lab.
She's in her element.
Into the wet lab, and then where they make all the samples. This is where Ashley got her sample. That's also been special to me, too, to be here in Oregon, and also, and it kind of fits with the brand of our laboratory, is that we are very interested in water and water issues.
Her element, the surface of water.
Because it's so key to anything environmental. Whatever is in our water has to first get through that surface. She's sampling something that's a millionth of an inch in size.
And in the Richmond Laser Lab.
This is what we'll be measuring for the next hour or so.
Jerry's students use laser beams in a complicated experiment.
The X position is 5.98.
To see how the surface of water interfaces with oil.
Just teeny tiny little droplets. It took about 2 years to set up this experiment that you see here.
One of the things that we're about to put on the laser is a standard surfactant known as AOT, and it was used really heavily in the Deepwater Horizon oil spill back in 2010.
Their goal? To help find non-toxic ways to disperse oil spills.
I'm very proud of my students. I'm so proud of my students, every single one of them. This experiment is really a tour de force. It's a very difficult experiment. And the fact that they make it work is just phenomenal to me.
Jerry's journey into science started like the well-known story of another famous young woman who had big dreams. On a farm in Kansas.
Far, far away.
But instead of adventures in Oz, Jerry's started in her entrepreneur mom Lucille's beauty salon.
And the hairspray could kill any bird that was flying by. and could also hold a woman's hair together during any Kansas tornado.
She talked about her mom as an inspiration in her 2018 acceptance speech for the American Chemical Society's highest honor, the Priestley Medal.
So like me, my mother also had no concept of a science career, yet she was the first person to introduce me to chemistry, pointing out ingredients on hair products that she knew were in the periodic table.
That introduction and Jerry's natural curiosity to ask why eventually led her to her undergraduate degree in chemistry from Kansas State and then her graduate degree at UC Berkeley, where she met her physicist husband, Steve Cavan, on the first day of class. They've been together for 45 years. From Berkeley, Jerry and Steve headed to Philadelphia, where he went to work at Bell Labs.
And I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after graduate school, and so I decided to go teach.
She became the first tenure-track female faculty member of chemistry at Bryn Mawr College.
I found out at that point that I loved research more than I knew I did.
In 1985, they both took positions at the University of Oregon, where Jerry could expand the laser research she began at Bryn Mawr.
It was just such an attraction to be able to come here, but also the environmental consciousness. Yeah.
Photos of Steve and their two sons, Brian and Dustin, are nestled lovingly between dozens and dozens of certificates of achievement and awards that fill Jerry's office located inside her lab at the U of O.
That's my family with President Obama. Yeah. I wouldn't be where I was without them. So to have them there was great.
In 2016, President Obama bestowed Jerry with the National Medal of Science, the highest scientific honor presented by the U.S. government.
It honored not only all the research that we've done, but also all of my outreach activities, too.
And that outreach is something she's passionate about, promoting diversity within the field of science.
At this point, we've worked with over 25,000 women in the U.S. and around the globe to help advance in their careers. And so
through a program called COACH, a grassroots organization she founded in 1997.
We can't, climate change or anything, clean water, whatever it is, we can't operate with only 50% of the talent being used. We have to be at 100%.
It's based on
and that's what President Biden is counting on, a full-court press nominating Dr. Jerry Richmond to help lead the effort to fight climate change.
Nominations are Dr. Geraldine Richmond to be the
as the Undersecretary for Science for the DOE.
We can't do science without good people.
It's a calling, a challenge she's ready to take on.
I have kids. You know, you have kids. We all care about them. I care about my students' lives. And you know, to have your children or young people say to you, look what you've left us, it's really hard to accept. So you have to do something about it. What, your concentration? Are you down in the 20?
And that brings us back to the lab and Jerry's students.
Yeah.
Grad student Connor Jones is also conducting laser experiments to better understand how molecules of water bond differently at the surface than underneath.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
If confirmed by the Senate, her new job with the Biden administration will mean she has to step away from her role at U of O. But she'll keep in touch with her students, as she has with so many over 3 decades.
She's going to make or impact history for the whole entire world.
She's been a great role model for a lot of young women who haven't seen themselves in these positions of power in science.
It's a tough one to go leave from the university that I love and Oregon that I love to go work on a bigger scale to help Oregon and the rest of the nation on climate change.
But Oregon is now part of Jerry Richmond's chemistry.
It's a wonderful and special place to be from and to come back to.
And that's a bond.
I'll be back.
That can't be broken.
You betcha, I'll be back. I'll be back.
What a true history maker, and indeed she is back. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2021 recipient of the Oregon History Makers Medallion, Dr. Geraldine Richmond.
I would like to thank the Oregon Historical Society for honoring me with this History Makers Award. It's from the state I love and respect and whose values I share. Now, my love of science began in college with some pretty hardcore physics, chemistry, and math courses, but I loved it. That love for science grew, especially for research, when I worked with lasers, doing laser research when lasers were very uncommon. Now, as I pondered my career going forward after I got my PhD, I wasn't so sure I wanted to spend it being surrounded by a bunch of nerdy guys with lacking social skills. I also recognized that there would be challenges, being one of the only few women in my field in the 70s and 80s, building lasers and operating them. But again, my love of science has helped me through it all. Now, what I didn't realize was what incredible opportunities science would offer me through my career. To be able to work with the most amazing students in the classroom and in my laboratory, both in my first position at Bryn Mawr College and here at the University of Oregon. To be able to take on leadership roles in the state, as well as across the nation. To have set priorities in higher education, as well as in research and science in this country. To work with and mentor thousands of women scientists, both across the United States and in over 24 developing countries around the globe, to help them achieve the aspirations to make their successes that they so deserve. Now, I truly believe that these opportunities have come to pass because I am at the University of Oregon. When I was hired back in 1985, those that hired me saw in me more than I saw in myself at the time, including President Frohnmeyer and President Schill. They have given me the support and flexibility to weave those opportunities into my University of Oregon responsibilities on campus. I do not know of another institution that would have allowed me to do so many amazing things in addition to my teaching and research on campus. My success is also built on my students who have spent endless hours on their laser research, very difficult experiments to understand important issues having to do with the environment and even water, which is so special here in Oregon. And last but not least, I must acknowledge my best buddy, my husband, Steve Cavan, who came from a family of Oregonians and is in the area of physics. He's been with me since our very first day in graduate school in Berkeley, but I also want to thank my sons, Brian and Dustin. We are all truly honored that you have honored me with this History Makers Award. Thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations again, Dr. Richmond. And before we continue, let me offer a very heartfelt special thanks to Steve Carter, General Manager at KGW, and all our friends at KGW Channel 8 for generously donating their time and talents to produce the video profiles of our 4 History Medal recipients. It's something they have done for almost the entire history of the award. Thank you, KGW, for being such an outstanding partner, not only for the Oregon Historical Society, but for so many nonprofit organizations throughout this state. And now let's move on to our second history maker this evening. Willamette University was founded in 1842, 17 years before Oregon became the 33rd state. It was not only the first university in Oregon, but it was also the first university founded west of the Mississippi. The motto of Willamette is, "Not unto ourselves alone are we born." It's a motto that has inspired countless Willamette graduates over the past 179 years, including the visionary leader we now honor as an Oregon history maker. A leader who also is a shining example of the wisdom and value of an open and inclusive immigration system. Let's learn more about Punit Renjen.
Hello.
Hello.
Without this opportunity, I wouldn't be where I am.
I'm Punit.
Ask Punit Renjen how a kid from India makes a permanent mark on Salem's Willamette University. He'll tell you it's a long story.
I grew up in a small town in India, Rohtak, and I went to boarding school when I was 7 years old and came back home at 14 because my father ran out of money.
Renjen couldn't know it yet, but that difficult experience would become a valuable lesson.
It taught me the value of hard work, which I think is essential to anybody trying to succeed.
The tide turned in 1984 when he got a Rotary scholarship to Willamette. he left home for good.
So sight unseen, never been out of the country, never been on an airplane. I came from Rohtak, Haryana to Salem, Oregon, and to beautiful Willamette University.
Renjen arrived with no place to stay. He wandered around campus and into a fraternity house.
There were a few fraternity brothers that were putting their beds together. And I walked in on them and I said, I'm an international student and I have no place to stay, and they let me sleep on the sofa. That was my first American experience.
It was the beginning of a decades-long relationship with Willamette.
This is where I got my opportunity, my start.
Renjen studied hard. He majored in economics, earned a master's degree in management, then applied to a long list of jobs.
I didn't have any grand plan.
One at Deloitte. At the time, it was known as Deloitte Haskins & Sells.
Deloitte Haskins & Sells rejected me. I actually have that rejection letter.
Another, Touche Ross, gave him a chance, before later being bought out by Deloitte. The firm that once rejected Renjen kept him on.
I taught myself to like it and become good at my craft.
The accounting firm operates in 150 countries with billions of dollars in revenue. In 2015, Renjen was named Deloitte's global CEO. He's the first Asian-born person to lead one of the world's largest professional services firms.
Looking back now, when I was 18 years old in Rohtak, Haryana, and if you had lined up all the kids that were 18, I don't think anybody would have picked me to be the global CEO of a $50 billion multinational organization.
Under his leadership, Deloitte launched World Class, an initiative to advance education and professional skills for 100 million people across the globe, including in his home country.
175 million women and girls in India are uneducated.
To be the leading
and because they are uneducated, they don't have access to the same set of opportunities that you and I do. And so through education, we are impacting the lives of hopefully 50 million by 2030.
When the brutal second wave of COVID hit India, Deloitte launched a project to treat the sick.
First started in my home state of Haryana, and then we're now trying to do it across India and South Africa, is to see as to how we provide care to mild and moderate patients of COVID and reduce the crush on hospitals.
His commitment to giving back led him back to Willamette.
Having lived the immigrant experience and being profoundly grateful to Oregon and to America for giving me this opportunity, I felt it was important to give back.
3 years ago, the Renjen Center was established here on campus.
Hi. How are you?
A space focused on diversity and inclusion.
Well, it's great to see you all in here. I'm glad that you're using it.
Where students can find support and community.
For me, this is really important in terms of giving back. It's for people like you and also for kind of re-emphasizing the immigrant experience.
An experience highlighted with this plaque.
Dedicated to my mom and dad.
Wow.
I think they would be proud.
Now, as Renjen reflects on his journey.
So I think my takeaway is it takes a lot of hard work. Takes a little bit of luck.
Please help me to welcome Punit Renjen.
He's grateful for the road that led him to Oregon, a place he now calls home.
It's where I got my education. It's where I got my start.
I was in your position 32 years ago.
It's also where I fell in love. And my wife is a native Oregonian.
He built a life here and is proud of his story, his American dream.
I think we need to celebrate this ability of immigrants, people like me, people that look different, to come here for this wonderful country to embrace us, give us the opportunity, and for us to then be able to contribute back.
Punit is truly living the Willamette motto. Not unto ourselves alone are we born. He makes me very proud to be a Willamette Bearcat myself. Ladies and gentlemen, Oregon history maker, Punit Renjen.
Thank you, Kerry, for that introduction, and thank you to the Oregon Historical Society. I'm deeply honored to be recognized among this year's esteemed group of Oregon history makers. Congratulations to all of you. I have to say this is not a title I ever expected for myself, and I'm not alone in that. I'm fairly certain no one who knew me growing up in India would have pegged me as a future history maker, a future troublemaker maybe, but my life has evolved in ways even I couldn't have imagined. Thankfully, along the way, it landed me here in beautiful Oregon. Though I'm not a native-born Oregonian, Oregon is home. I've lived here longer than any place else. Oregon is where I received my education. It's where I built my career and found my life's work. It's where I met the love of my life and raised a family. Oregon has given me more than I ever thought was possible. I arrived here to attend Willamette University, green as can be, knowing very little about the American way of life. Oregon gave me opportunities, and I'm profoundly grateful. So the idea that my life has in any small way contributed to the richness of Oregon's cultural heritage or the strength of its business environment is something I take great pride in. Thank you very much again.
Congratulations again, Punit. After hearing what Punit and Dr. Richmond have done for education here in Oregon and around the world, we thought now was a good time to share with you what the Oregon Historical Society does to inspire students, educators, and lifelong learners here in Oregon and beyond. What is the Oregon Historical Society? The Oregon Historical Society is a community gathering space and a statewide resource for educators, students, and all Oregonians. For nearly 125 years, Oregonians have shared their history with OHS and counted on us to preserve their diaries, journals, letters, photographs, and belongings, and most of all, to share their history with future generations. OHS is a place where everyone can hold history in their hands in our research library, and school field trips and visitors from around the state and across the world fill our exhibits. OHS is more, though, than a physical gathering space. It's the knowledge and research and digitized collection that we make available to everyone around the world. OHS is in lesson plans and professional development for educators that helps them bring Oregon history right into the classroom. OHS is a gathering of thousands of people who read our weekly emails and more than 1 million visitors annually to our digital history websites, like the remarkable Oregon Encyclopedia. And OHS is in the Oregon Historical Quarterly, our journal that sparks conversations around the world with new scholarship in each and every issue that sometimes changes our understanding of our past and our present. OHS is all this and more, and OHS is all of you participating in virtual public programs and then allowing us to share your stories too.
As a mom, physician, and Oregonian, I recognize the vast amount of information surrounding us, and I've been deeply concerned that so much of it is not based on evidence. It's vitally important we question our sources, look critically at the information we are exposed to, and to do research like historians and scientists. In the context of COVID, it has mattered so much to me that the Oregon Historical Society lifted data and historical facts around the 1918 influenza pandemic in Oregon. Similar to COVID, the 1918 pandemic and response did not develop in a vacuum. The historical context in how we managed the 1918 pandemic has informed us on what health policies we should echo and what we must avoid repeating. The expansion of access to historical data, perspective, and context is important now more than ever.
In challenging times, stories of people who came before us provide us courage and hope. At any stage and age of our lives, when we are open to learning, we grow. I'm so proud of the way Oregon Historical Society staff, volunteers, and donors have supported students and their teachers from the very outset of this pandemic. Throughout the pandemic, I've been a volunteer judge for the virtual National History Day contest. Students pick their own topics on a national theme, which this year was Communication in History, the Key to Understanding. A number of students learned about Oregonian Beatrice Morrow Kennedy, who used journalism and advocacy to campaign against the racist film, The Birth of a Nation. Needless to say, I learned from these students as a volunteer, and in fact, thanks to these students, I discovered that Kennedy's home was less than a mile from my own. In moments like these, I believe OHS can be a catalyst for lifelong civic engagement that is grounded in an understanding of Oregon history. You can see how these bright young people are doing their own research, analyzing primary sources, asking big questions, and learning how to articulate their ideas. They are grappling with the complexity of our history and about people and events that shape the world we share.
The Oregon Historical Society has an important role to play, and that as a convener, as a venue, and again as a place where all Oregonians can look and see their stories being revealed.
You saw her in the video, and now she's here with me. Mary Faulkner, the president of the Board of Trustees of the Oregon Historical Society, and we're here now to give you your chance to raise your hand for history. Please join us in celebrating tonight's remarkable history makers and supporting the important work of the Oregon Historical Society. You can click the Get Started button to donate. If you've pre-registered for the paddle raise, look for a text or email with your own personal link to donate. If not, you can enter your information now. Or, if you prefer to give by phone, our staff are standing by now, so please give us a call at 503-306-5220. That's 503-306-5220.
And as Carrie and I announce each gift level, you can join in at that amount. And thanks to the wonders of technology, the thermometer will rise and you'll be able to see that you are contributing to the work of Oregon Historical Society. If you use your own personal link to give, Carrie and I will be able to see your name on our screen.
So, Mary, what do you got? You've got in your hand the Oregon Historical Quarterly. We mentioned that as part of the great benefit of OHS. And everyone who donates tonight or who makes a pledge to give will be entered into a drawing what we'll announce later on. So get ready for that announcement coming up soon. So we're going to begin with the $10,000 level. So let's get started by asking if anyone, oh my gosh, look at that thermometer, would like to donate $10,000 to help OHS continue to share more amazing stories.
Well, I can think of 10,000 reasons that our community is better because of the work of Oregon Historical Society to expand access to a historical perspective and context. In fact, I could think of a million reasons, which happens to be the number of online readers who visit Oregon Encyclopedia each year.
And let me send right now a million and more thanks to Pat Reeser and Bill Westfall, who are raising their $10,000 paddle from home. Reeser's Fine Foods is a former history maker of ours, and they're a wonderful couple. Pat and Bill, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much, Pat and Bill.
And Mary Ann Nato Campbell has raised her paddle in honor of her parents, Bill and Mickey Nato, at the $10,000 level. Thank you, Ann, for all you do for OHS and for so many organizations around Portland.
Great news. Thank you so much.
Are there other $10,000 donors out there? Just feel free to enter as we sit here tonight and until midnight tonight. And our next level is $5,000, and we have an anonymous donor who will match the first $5,000 gift at this level.
If you'd like to have your donation doubled, please click on that Get Started button and virtually raise your paddle, or give us a call at 503-306-5220.
And I want to send my gratitude and the gratitude of OHS to the anonymous donor for helping to inspire others to join in preserving Oregon's history for future generations. I happen to know the anonymous donor is the first in his family to live in our state, and that as part of setting down roots here, he's become an active member in the Oregon Historical Society. Thank you for inviting others to join you in your significant support.
I just love that. As a first-generation Oregonian myself, it's such a reminder that the history of this place grounds us and helps us gain a new understanding of the present.
And we have that $5,000 donor, Jean and Ray Owl, are in. Thank you so much. And we send a big hello to former history maker Jean Owl, Oregon's best-selling author of all time, with the Clan of the Cave Bear book, the sequels to that, and many more books that have been translated into countless languages. You can read more about Jean on the Oregon Encyclopedia, www.oregonencyclopedia.org.
I have such fond memories of reading Clan of the Cave Bear, and I'm just so excited to welcome Jean and Ray's daughters tonight who are watching. Thank you to everyone in the OWL family for helping us meet that wonderful match.
And again, if you want to donate at the $5,000 level, feel free to do that, and you've got between now and midnight, this will stay live, to donate. And now let's move on to the $2,500 level, and we have an incredibly generous surprise matching challenge. In recognition of Punit Renjen's contribution to Oregon and the Oregon Historical Society's work to preserve Oregon history, for all he's done around the world, Deloitte is making a $40,000 donation to match your contributions tonight. Wow. Please raise your virtual paddles now at the $2,500 level to help us reach this match, and your gift will be doubled. And I just saw that Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici and her husband, Judge Mike Simon, wonderful donation at the $2,500 level. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Congresswoman Bonamici. And I see, Mary, what are you doing right now?
Oh, I'm plugging in some numbers here, Carrie.
Mary Faulkner has her phone out, and she's raising her $2,500 paddle on behalf of Ferguson Wellman. Thank you, Mary.
Oh, Carrie, it's such a pleasure to be involved with Oregon Historical Society, and certainly my firm sees such value, not just for the state of Oregon, but also for our clients. They really do enjoy all the content and the programming is provided by OHS. So if you are able to make a $2,500 donation at this point, please do so now. It's easy to click on your phone or call 503-306-5220, and Deloitte will match your or double your gift.
Morton Mary Lang Bishop, wonderful board member Mort is. Mary Lang's a former board member, great Oregonians. They are in for $2,500. Thank you, Morton Mary. And now I see that John Herman, also a former board member, former interim executive director here. He's in for $2,500, raising his paddle and helping us meet that match. Thank you very much, John, for all you do.
That's great.
Please continue to donate if you're comfortable donating to the $2,500 level. Remember, that level will be matched by the generous donation by Deloitte. And our next level is $1,000. And if you want to donate at this level to expand history, access to history, please do so from wherever you are.
Yes, let's keep this momentum going. Deloitte has let us know that they will continue to match your contributions until we meet the match. So please join us in supporting OHS with the gift of $1,000.
And the $1,000 donors are coming in now. Thank you, Greg Chandler. Thank you, Paul and Grace Andrews. Thank you. Oh, look at this, Mary. Pat Reeser and Bill Westfall are raising their paddle for another $10,000 to make sure we meet the match tonight. Thank you, Pat and Bill, and hope you will join with them in a gift. And Kristen Anderson is in for $1,000. Dr. Walter Erba, former history maker here. Thank you, Dr. Erba, for all you do in the fight against cancer. Dr. Erba is in for $1,000. John Boylston, I see, in for $1,500. Jim and Kathy Parker for $1,000. Thank you, Jim and Kathy. Thank you, John and Lauren. They keep coming in. Thank you again for John Boylston for the $1,500 donation. And thank you to everyone who has contributed so far. And now let's go to the 5. Scott, Howard, and Lucy are in for $1,000. Thank you for that donation. So I don't want to stop anybody from giving that $1,000 donation. David and Christine Vernier are in for $1,000.
Wonderful.
Thank you, David and Christine. Big supporters of many causes here in Portland and around Oregon. And my wife, Becky Timchuk. Becky's in for $1,000. Thank you,
That's
Becky.
Great news. Fingers crossed my husband comes through as well.
No, let's hope so. There's a challenge to you going on right now.
He might be coming in.
Mary, so.
We'll see. It depends on if the Timbers win. I think they did win tonight, which is great news.
Susan Malik Jones and Associates, a great accounting firm here. Thank you for your donation of $1,000.
With our board member, Aaron Zolenkoff, connected to...
Oh, look, Miles Faulkner is in for $1,000. Mary's husband. Thank you, Miles.
Thank you, Miles. Great
Bob
job.
Speltz and our friends at the Standard. Bob Speltz is $500 there. Thank you. And speaking of $500, please keep giving $1,000 if you'd like to, but now we're at the $500 level. So anyone would like to donate $500 or anything else from $1 million to $1, just feel free and contribute tonight. via here at High Tech or the phone, or call us at the number.
Yeah.
We're looking for your gifts, so please continue to give.
Even though this isn't a full room like a typical fundraising event, it's so fun to see all these names pop up. We really feel like very connected to everyone who is watching tonight and contributing, and can't thank you enough for helping expand the reach of Oregon Historical Society and supporting the mission.
So we're going to continue now to return. Rich George, thank you for your $100 donation. We're going to continue now to sharing more History Makers stories, but please continue to give and to donate as you watch the program. And thank you all again for all your generosity. Bob and Betty Bauer, thank you, Bob and Betty, for your donation. And now, let's go to honor two more Oregon history makers. Oregon's first railway dates back to May 20th, 1861. 8 years, Mary, before they drove that golden spike in Promontory Point in Utah to complete the Transcontinental Railroad. Here in Oregon, it was a small 4.5-mile Oregon Portage rail line, and it was completed between Tanner Creek and the head of the Cascade Rapids near present-day Cascade Locks. Built to a width of 5 feet, the line was used for transporting goods and was initially powered by a mule. That changed almost exactly 1 year later, on May 10, 1862, when the mule was fired and replaced by a little engine that could, named the Oregon Pony, manufactured in San Francisco at a cost of $4,000. Today, Oregon is home to nearly 2,500 miles of rails. Trains and railways are a key part of getting Oregon agriculture, Oregon products, to markets here in America and around the world. Railways are also a key part of the century-old Oregon business that is our next Oregon history maker. My friend KGW's Pat Doris shares the story of the Greenbrier Companies.
To understand the Greenbrier Companies, you need to meet this man, Bill Furman, CEO and chairman of the board, someone who speaks his mind.
We can't become a nation of just nothing but selfish, bickering money grubbers. And if you don't get seduced by that, and you can have good principles, and you can run a company where you respect the customer, because without a customer, you're nothing.
But with the customer, you're everything. Throw in respect for employees and you can be very successful indeed. And Greenbrier is. It's headquartered in Lake Oswego with roughly 11,000 employees around the world and revenues of $2 billion. The company's roots extend deep into Oregon and stretch all the way back to 1919, when the Gunderson brothers formed a steel fabrication plant in Portland. There were tough times. Gunderson almost went under in the late 1930s, but Navy contracts saved the company during World War II. In the late 50s, Gunderson began making rail cars, and business got better. 35 years later, in 1985, Bill Furman and his partner Alan James had a leasing company called Greenbrier. It was named after the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, which still has a bunker underground built as a shelter for members of Congress if needed during the Cold War. It is still there today.
It was an interesting history, but we kept getting people calling and saying, we'd like to make a reservation at the resort because they confused us with that company. We finally changed the name to a different spelling.
Gunderson by then also had a different name. Furman and James bought the company and changed the name back to the original Gunderson. Also in 1985, Gunderson refined and built the twin-stack rail car, a breakthrough in the industry that allowed 2 shipping containers to be stacked on one railroad car. It remains a wildly popular product.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. We've made about 60% of all the double-stack cars in the world. We probably made 120,000 of those cars.
While we're on the topic of rail cars, I had to ask Furman about graffiti. He said the company tried a paint-resistant finish on the cars, but that just made the graffiti smear. And they tried painting over the graffiti.
That was working for a while, but then graffiti took off, and you'd paint those cars, and they'd be out in the rail yard, and the next day they'd have this graffiti on them. And the art has advanced, so it's really some of it's really pretty attractive.
So now, they mostly live with it.
Just celebrate it, just go with the flow. You got to accept change, you got to adapt, right?
As Greenbrier grew, its companies began building freight cars in the U.S., Mexico, Poland, Romania, and Turkey. Greenbrier also manages more than 400,000 rail cars in America for other owners.
And we manage here out of these offices over 25% of the North American fleet of rail cars, and there's a tremendous amount of technology behind keeping track of where rail cars are, how they're being maintained, and that's where I see a real opportunity for Greenbrier to kind of go to that next level, is around service and how do we provide service to our customers.
Lori Tacorius is president and COO for the Greenbrier Companies. Over 26 years, she's risen up through the ranks and believes company culture is a big reason for its continued growth.
It is a culture of people that want to work hard. We have this desire to solve our customers' problems, and I think it's that natural tendency that crosses all of our different business units that helps us to pull together and think about things creatively, but we're also very caring and participatory. We want to include people and include our customers. We believe that that sort of relationship really matters.
Greenbrier became a publicly traded company in 1994, which brought pressure from investors to turn fast profits. Company leaders resisted.
We have to look long term. We are not just, turn the dial and crank up the widgets more this quarter versus next quarter, but we're part of the fabric of a much larger industry here in North America.
Investors believe them, and the company's stock price has climbed along with Greenbrier's growth.
So you can't just dial it up and make numbers one quarter and continue to do that quarter after quarter. It has to be sustainable.
The Greenbrier Companies also include the Gunderson Marine Division, with roughly 500 employees and 75 acres along the Willamette River, where they stage spectacular launches. And in case you're wondering, yes, the price of steel has gone up, way up.
And is it hard to find enough steel for that?
Today, steel has been, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole or anything, but steel prices have gone up 300% since about 18 months ago. So yeah, it's been, you can find it, but it's very costly.
During the year 2020, the pandemic hit Greenbrier like everyone else, forcing a massive layoff of 7,000 employees. Now it's recovering. After 36 years running the ever-expanding company, Bill Furman plans to retire September of 2022. He's learned some hard lessons along the way. Here's just one of many.
We learned not to let engineers design cars without talking to customers, for example. That was what FMC was doing. They designed some kind of car, but nobody wanted it because it was an engineer's dream.
As for the future, he has one hope, that the company's culture of respecting its workers remains.
You have an employee meeting. We have one every quarter all over the world. You'll ask these people questions, or they'll ask you questions, and they're really intelligent questions. And you can learn from those people, but they won't talk to you if they're afraid of you. Then they won't talk to you and nothing will happen. So I want that culture preserved. That's the only selfish thing I think I've got. I'd hate to see it destroyed.
Congratulations, Bill, and congratulations, the Greenbrier Companies. And now, accepting the History Maker Medal on behalf of Bill and Greenbrier is Jack Esselman, Senior Vice President for External Affairs and Communications.
Thank you, Carrie. Hello, I'm Jack Esselman, and I am pleased to accept the Oregon History Makers Award on behalf of Greenbrier. It is an honor to be recognized as a contributor to Oregon's history, alongside other legendary organizations like Bob's Red Mill, Hoffman Construction, and Les Schwab Tires, each of which previously received this award. We are proud of Greenbrier's foundational roots in Oregon. We continue to be part of Oregon's dynamic business and manufacturing community, with our operations at Gunderson, in Portland, and our world headquarters in Lake Oswego. From our founding in the home of a former Oregon territorial governor in Oregon City, Greenbrier grew to be a global company through decades of hard work by our employees and with the support of the broader community. Gunderson's history started in 1919, Wheels Shop. Try saying that 5 times fast. Since then, Gunderson has manufactured plywood lifeboats, fabricated steel for many of the bridges and buildings around Portland, and built peacetime barges after World War II. In the 1980s, Greenbrier revolutionized the freight railcar industry through its operations at Gunderson. calling on the innovation and determination of our founders. We've even hosted Portlandia, the statue, not the TV show, before her historic journey down the Willamette River by barge to the Portland Building in 1985. Most recently, Gunderson teamed with the city of Portland to turn shipping containers into bathrooms, laundry, and kitchen facilities for a transitional housing project. We share tonight's award with all our employees and business partners, our investors, and our community members from the past and the present. From all of us at Greenbrier, thank you for this recognition.
Thank you, Jack, and congratulations again to Greenbrier. And keep those donations coming in. We've got some wonderful donations come in, and we'll be offering some thanks here in a minute. But first, we want to go to our fourth and final history maker this evening. You know, art is the conduit that keeps a culture strong, that connects the present with the past, that is an important part of identity, of who we are. And perhaps no artist has done more to keep the culture of Oregon's indigenous people strong and to connect the present with the past than this evening's final honoree. KGW's Brittany Faulkner introduces us to the amazing Lillian Pitt.
My brother said, what you have is a gift from our ancestors. And it's your responsibility to teach everyone, you know, that we're here. We have a voice. And he says, and you're the voice.
You can tell a lot about an artist through their work.
That's Shaglaw, or She Who Watches.
Each of Lillian Pitt's pieces reveals a sliver of her soul.
She overlooked the village where my great-great-grandmother lived.
Telling stories from her culture.
The legend has it that long ago when people could talk to the animals and the animals back to the people, well, Coyote the Changer came down the gorge and asked the villagers if they lived well.
The history of her ancestors, told through artistic expression in clay, bronze, prints, and glass.
He says, well, I need to talk to your leader. They said, well, that's Shaglaw, she's up the hill. And Coyote trotted up the hill and asked her, how are you going to watch over your people? And he said, changes are going to come. People of different color are going to come and change our ways. How will you watch over your people? And she didn't know. And that's when Coyote changed her into a rock so she can watch over everybody forever.
But Lillian says she didn't actually grow up with these stories.
Asked my parents, why didn't I know about this? And they said, well, because of the boarding schools.
In the late 1800s, Native American children were taken from their parents and put into boarding schools, forbidden from speaking their languages, participating in traditional activities, whitewashing away their indigenous culture. Today, historians refer to the practice as cultural genocide.
And then again, Mom said, if you're quiet, then you won't draw attention to yourself and you won't get picked on.
She was born on the Warm Springs Reservation.
Raised in a two-room house, no electricity, no running water, no indoor plumbing. And so, but we didn't know any different.
An independent spirit, her Native American name, Wakamu, means camas root, a stubborn plant that won't let go of the earth. It reflects the time she spent wandering the hills during her childhood.
I was up in the hills, laying on the ground, watching the ants run around and stuff like that. And so it's pretty much a loner, and I kind of enjoyed doing what I wanted to do.
Where did you find your artistic ability?
Well, I didn't know I had it. My dad was very artistic, musical, and could draw. It wasn't until 20 years after I graduated from Madras High School that I took ceramics, and that was just on a whim.
A hairdresser for her early adult life, Lillian had to find a new path after a bad back forced her to retire.
I had to quit, and then I thought I'll go to school.
At 32, she enrolled at Mount Hood Community College, taking classes in mental health and human services.
I found out about myself that I'm a real person. I'm a real person that has valid feelings and emotions, and you know, I didn't have to quiet myself, as Mom always said.
But a spark of destiny was about to ignite in the ceramics room.
And it was love at first touch, and I would just be as mesmerized with it as I was with the ants when I was little. And I've never been that excited before.
After finishing her first pieces, a showing brought Lillian face to face with the man known as the Picasso of American Indian artists, R.C. Gorman.
Then he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "Oh, I didn't want to say I was a student." So I said, "Oh, I'm an artist," and boldly.
Lillian's life and purpose changed forever.
He was so patient and so generous. He bought 2 pieces.
While her first pieces represented Native American culture, she says they weren't interpretations from her own indigenous history.
Because I felt kind of guilty selling these items that weren't really from my background, I went over to home to Warm Springs and talked to my elders. And I asked them, who am I and where are we from?
It led her down a path of self-discovery through her ancestors who had lived in the Columbia River Gorge for thousands of years, through the Warm Springs, Wasco, and Yakima people.
And they moved us to Warm Springs and called us the Warm Springs Wasco, and took away our names from the Columbia River, you know, and these are our names. And so they told me all this stuff about me.
She realized her work came with responsibility.
It was just mind-blowing for me, and I've been busy since. So. And then these are from the petroglyphs and pictographs in the Columbia River Gorge. It gave me such a sense of power, and one that no one can ever take away from me. You know, that I know who I am, where I'm from, and I have a purpose for my life. And my elders said, "We're glad you're doing what you're doing because you're letting people know we're still here, that nobody's gotten rid of us, and you'll continue to speak our message."
It's a message she's shared with the next generation. At 77 years old, Lillian continues to create and tell the stories of her people.
It represents our determination not to be extinct.
Keeping her culture alive so that others don't have to wait to discover their true identity.
So when you see your pieces on prominent display here at Fort Vancouver, and when you see, you know, just visitors coming in and not just admiring your work, but wanting to learn more about it, how does that make you feel?
It makes me feel great. It makes me feel like I'm doing my job. It's my responsibility to do this, and so and I don't feel burdened by it. It's a privilege to do it, and so yeah.
Congratulations, Lillian. And now let's hear from Oregon history maker Lillian Pitt.
I am honored and humbled to be a history maker and in the esteemed company of Punit Renjen, Dr. Geraldine Richmond, and the Greenbrier Companies. Thank you for this award. I also want to thank Carrie Timchuk, the Director of OHS, the Board of Trustees, and Andrew Vanderzanden of the OHS Gift Shop. Having their support for all these years has been an amazing gift to me. In fact, my very first exhibition was in the 1980s when Thomas Vaughn was director. The strength and support of many have led me to where I am today, beginning with the ancient ancestors from the Columbia River Gorge, my family and friends and educators, organizations, fellow craftspeople from New Zealand, Japan, Canada, and Europe. Gratitude goes to them all. I have been given a gift and a blessing to continue making marks to let the world know we are still here, giving voice to people, the environment, and the animals. This is about maintaining a strong link to tradition and about honoring the many contributions my ancestors have made to this world. By recreating images with an informed history and understanding, we inspire knowledge to all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lillian. Lillian mentioned our gift shop, and we have been very proud for many years to feature Lillian's items in our shop. And one of them she has made a special. She mentioned the coyote. Is this beautiful bronze mask made by Lillian. And if you haven't given yet, this is a little motivation to give. Everyone who donates tonight will be entered into a drawing to receive this one-of-a-kind piece from Lillian Pitt. So hope you might give a little donation and get in the drawing for Lillian's artwork here. And some donations have continued to come in. Arlene Barnett, $1,000. Board member Janet Pardo, $500. Thank you, Janet. Joe and Sarah Tennant, wonderful supporters of OHS, at $2,500. Denise and Marie Gilliam, $1,000. Maury and Carolyn Arnston at $1,000. Thank you for that wonderful gift. So everyone's going to be open. The link will be open to midnight tonight if you want to continue to give or call the number. More gifts coming in. Elaine Patterson, $250. Thank you, Elaine. And again, and we have, just official word, we met the Deloitte match. Thank you, Deloitte. So that's a $40,000. The thermometer just went up there by 40,000. So thank you very much to our good friends at Deloitte. And the donations continue to come in. So I promised it would be a quick moving evening and get you back to your Sunday evenings. So thank you for being with us tonight and joining us to celebrate the stories of 4 Oregon history makers. It is the mission of OHS to preserve these stories and countless more and to share them in ways that inspire curiosity about all the people that have shaped Oregon. I invite you to come down to OHS here when we're open and see the amazing exhibits we have. Nevertheless, they persisted. The continuing exhibit celebrating the centennial last year of women's suffrage. Our great award-winning permanent exhibit called Experience Oregon is still here. A wonderful exhibit about the cowboy artist Ed Quigley. We just opened up a wonderful exhibit there. And a wonderful donation by State Senator Betsy Johnson, who donated a phenomenal collection of Klamath basketry that belonged to her parents, the late Sam and Becky Johnson. A beautiful exhibit of Native American basketry here at OHS as well. And coming soon in December will be a new exhibit called Freeze the Day, the History of Winter Sports in Oregon. So that'll be coming soon. So come on to downtown Portland. Pete Nickerson, thank you for your $1,000 donation. More money coming in. Madeline Torsey for $500. Thank you, Madeline. Thank you all for donating tonight, for all your support of OHS. We've made the match. We're going to continue to make more money and get more important donations as the evening goes on. So I look forward to seeing you in person next year at the 2022 Oregon History Makers. If you have ideas for individuals, organizations who you think are deserving of the Oregon History Makers Medal, the title, be sure and send them into OHS. Thank you, Robert Chapman, for your $1,000. And if you were as inspired as I was and you just haven't had time to make a donation yet, please now make a donation now or the rest of the evening. All donations, as I said, made before midnight tonight will count toward our fundraising goals, and everyone who participates will be entered into a drawing, as I said, for this beautiful bronze mask from Lillian Pitt. At the Oregon Historical Society, we believe in learning our history because stories from our past not only tell us where we come from, they can help us better understand the present and give us hope for our shared future. I join all of you in looking forward to a bright future. Thank you for being part of the Oregon story. And I think more money coming in. Deborah Heron, $500. The donations keep coming in, so we're really excited about that. We thank you for all your support tonight. And we wait 1 minute more. I'm getting a late announcement here. This is at its finest. $1,500 just came in from Carl and Carolyn Christopherson. Thank you, Carl and Carolyn. Any amount. April Clark, thank you for your donation of $50. OHS is very grateful to accept any amount that you would like to donate this evening. Sherry Neal, $200, as I see coming across the screen here. So I could be here all night announcing the money, but I think we've reached the end. Thank you for being part of the Oregon Story. Good night, everyone.